In the dead of night, the stillness of an old lady's home was shattered by the creeping shadows of an intruder. Alone in her dimly lit bedroom, she stirred in her sleep, feeling an unsettling presence lurking nearby. The unease grew as a figure emerged, rummaging through familiar belongings, their intentions cloaked in darkness. This was not just any night. It was a night that would entwine the fates of two strangers forever. With a surge of adrenaline, the old lady awoke to find herself in a nightmare. Heart pounding in her chest, she confronted the intruder, her frail body trembling but her spirit unyielding. Faced with desperation, the burglar instinctively pulled out a knife, intending merely to intimidate her. But in that moment, chaos erupted, and a struggle ensued between vulnerability and desperation, a dance of fear and will. Suddenly, the tragic twist of fate occurred. The blade glinted under the flickering light as it drew too close, sinking deep into the old lady's side. Her eyes widened with shock and pain, leaving the intruder paralyzed in horror. Dropping the weapon, he knelt beside her, frantically trying to apply pressure to the wound that would seal both their fates. His heart broke as he choked on the words, I'm sorry," echoing into the silence, a haunting plea for forgiveness that would never be granted. As reality surged in, the intruder found himself trapped in a web of sorrow he never intended to weave. This was not a villain. He was a heartbroken father, desperate to save his dying daughter in a hospice, faced with burdens too great to bear. In the midst of his own despair, he never sought to hurt anyone. Survival had clouded his judgment, leading to this tragic encounter. Rather than flee, the weight of his actions compelled him to summon the strength to call the police on himself, a final act of accountability. Though he was eventually found guilty of manslaughter, the life-altering consequences of that night extended far beyond the courtroom. His daughter received the treatment she desperately needed, and slowly she began to recover, a glimmer of hope amid the turmoil. What began as a heart-wrenching night of fear transformed into a complex narrative of struggle, remorse, and an unanticipated second chance. In the end, two lives were forever altered, bound by a tragedy that unfolded under the guise of desperation.